Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited. I'm welcoming my friend who I haven't spoken to for a long time, aside from Facebook buddies. This is the man who gave me my first acting job, folks. So if you have seen my acting reels and you don't like them, this is the man to blame for the beginning of it. His name is Julian Hampton. He's a director, he's a producer, he's a writer, and he's an all-around awesome dude. Hey, Julian, how are you?
I'm wonderful. It's so good to see you.
Likewise, how are you? How is Becky? What's going on with you guys?
Well, we're doing well. Of course, like everybody else, we're figuring our way through these
Yeah,
difficulties, but fortunate, blessed, just enjoying the journey.
that's very cool. And I know you're working on Fighting Olympus. Is that in pre-prod? Are you you halted the filming, or what's going on there?
We postponed it a bit. We're about to get back to it. So, no, we're in production. So,
Really?
of course, for us, making sure everyone's safe, making sure we take the right protocol. So,
Yeah.
this gap in time has allowed us to, or allowed me personally to really look at what we're doing, put things in their proper perspective, and
Yeah.
go at it full bore. So, I think we're probably about 85% completed.
Very nice. Any rewrites? Did you use any of this time to kind of tinker with things, or you're
Oh
like
yeah.
put it away and you're good?
Oh yeah. Well, I had a great chance to review footage, and sometimes um, new ideas, new stories come to you, and you're like, well, I can let me sprinkle a little of this, sprinkle a little of that, stir it up, and bake it, and what comes out of it is generally awesome. So you could also you could look at this as a frustrating moment, or you could look at it as an opportunity to really include some of their new ideas, because usually once you're into it, you don't get a chance to adapt. You just whatever you made is what's done, and then you're at the end, you're like, "Ah, I wish I could have." Well, we
Yeah.
can get to some of those wish I could have right now.
Very nice. What kind of will be the precautions that you're taking? What's going to be the new protocol moving forward?
Well, new protocol is making sure everyone's getting tested, social distancing, masks, uh,
Mhm.
other forms of barriers, sanitizing, making sure props aren't um, reused. You this is your prop. You take hold of it. No one else uses it. At the end of the night, it's sanitized. So, what's great about this project is a lot of the elements that are in the story can go in line with the what we're facing with social distancing and what we're facing with the precautions. So, um,
Good.
we're using PPE
Yeah.
as a prop.
Nice. That works.
Yes, you make lemonade.
Yeah, and thankfully you're in California because you guys have rapid testing and you have the ability to just do things much quicker. In Chicago, it is such a pain. I needed to get a COVID test because I have a procedures coming up, and I couldn't get a rapid one, and I don't want to have that invasive one. So
Oh,
nowhere, and I have all of my LA friends saying, "What are you talking about? We get tested every week. Just drive through, get it done, we're finished."
yeah,
So
yeah. It's fortunate, but it's hitting us pretty hard too. So
yeah,
we're figuring our way through this like everyone else.
I got you. Tell me more about Fighting Olympus. What is that project about?
Sure. Well, Fighting Olympus is action slash drama slash adventure. So
Mhm.
it's about an ex SWAT team captain that has to go into this interesting cult-like environment to rescue his brother. So there's um, there's action. There's so many interesting characters that you meet along the way. So you remember those choose your own adventure type books
Yeah,
where you kind of it's almost like that, where you get to see the interesting people that this individual meets along the way, and that his brother also meets in his journey. Um, so it skirts the edge of science fiction,
Mm.
but it's based on these times. So pretty interesting project, unlike anything I've filmed before. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So when do you plan for it? Hopefully, things get back to some level of normalcy. When do you plan to release it?
I would say probably early 2021, just
Okay.
to make sure we go through all of the process. I think, like you've probably seen, a lot of people aren't trying to rush right now
Yeah.
because, I mean, theaters, you're not going to be able to see it in theaters yet. You're not going to be able to, so we have time to do it right, and to do it safe. So I would forecast early 2021.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Um, let's jump back to kind of how it all started for you and I want to learn more about your process. So the my first movie that I referenced, my first acting job was in a movie called Church and State. It wasn't quite full feature length, but it wasn't a short either. It was, I think, 40 something minutes.
Yeah,
By
me
the time,
neither.
yeah, that cut was done, and that was I don't know if it was my first audition, but I think it might have been. I went up to Milwaukee, and I saw the posting. I don't even remember where I saw the posting. Julian, do you know where where you put it out? I don't remember that.
No, I don't even remember. One of
Yeah,
the casting
yeah.
sites.
I did not have an agent at that time, obviously, and I was taking some classes. I was taking a class at Actors Training Center, and I went up to Milwaukee, which is about an hour and plus hike from where I live, and did the audition. And there were a couple of roles that I was auditioning for, one of which was Dr. Saunders that I ended up getting. And the other one, I don't remember the name of the character, but it was not a doctor. It was a love interest of Daniella. And that character needed to dance. And I remember, you and Becky were there. Becky is there, kind of filming, and you wanted to see me dance. I said, hey, Becky, come on over. Yeah,
Oh, that was awesome. But yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
know what I
that
was
was
doing.
that's probably one of I would say that's probably my favorite audition of all time.
Really?
Because it was so natural. I mean, it wasn't like forced. It wasn't, oh, I gotta get this part. It was like, let's just have fun. Let's enjoy this. You guys are doing the tango or whatever the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
And to me, seeing personality in somebody that makes me smile, makes me know like, oh yeah, I want to work with him. I don't care. We'll figure out the part. Um, but I want to be connected to him because you get that joy, right? That fire that I have for the project and that joy that you showed. Perfect.
Thank
Perfect.
That was awesome. And then there were so many firsts to that project because for me, I've never been on a set. This
Hmm.
was kind of my first thing, and I remember I don't know how many details we can give out. It's up to you, but we were shooting on location in downtown Milwaukee, and just seeing how the whole process of putting together a film is, and what goes into it, and what things you can do with space, and trying to show different locations where we're shooting is not exactly what it looks like on screen, and how to go around that. All of that was just completely fascinating,
Yeah.
an amazing process for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I love it too because you have to use your creativity, right?
Yeah,
I mean, growing up in an environment where you have to use your creativity at home with toys, with games, right? If you can make one location feel like it's 10, I mean,
yeah,
how efficient, how practical is that? Um, and so it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, what's behind the curtain?
yeah,
You'll never see, but
yeah.
um, it's a fascinating process, and yeah, I enjoyed that too.
It was very cool, and I remember it was again, new things and kind of first for me. Daniella, who's the main character in the story, she needed to cry, and the movie, by the way, is about. I played an oncologist. The movie is about a person, Daniela, who gets stage 4 breast cancer, and then she goes through the process of recovery, and it changes her whole perspective on life, and she meets interesting people there. So I encourage everybody to watch the film. But Daniela needed to cry in one of the scenes, and I remember distinctly that crying take after take is not easy. So I just came back from a class where, and one of the great teachers was teaching us how to use breathing in order to elicit crying. So you don't have to go into your emotional bank. You don't have to use your previous experiences. You can just use breathing. And I remember sitting with Daniela and saying, okay, so here's what I learned, and here's how you can use breathing. And it worked, and she got the tears. I'm like, this is awesome. I love the whole thing. It's great.
I know, and I'm directing. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, don't cut yet. I mean, it's when you can, when someone can convey that level of emotion, right? Even if they're acting, that's what's so awesome about acting, and what I respect so much about what you do, to make me feel something, right? To make me feel like I'm that person, I'm in that, I'm watching that, I'm part of it, and to see me feel those emotions, even though I wrote it and I'm directing it, it's still like, wow, this is too much. And I love that about the craft. It's such a special thing that you do.
It's there's nothing that I can say that kind of describes the feeling that you get of when you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
You're in a different world, and things just happen to you. And
do you get in the zone?
Sometimes it's very mechanical. Sometimes you have to know, I'm on this mark, and I have to look for this, and I have to say this when that happens, and you get into your head, and it takes you out of the process. But sometimes you kind of get into that sweet spot where you let everything go and you just play, and you don't realize what's happening until they say cut, and okay, oh, all right, I'm back, and then you have to go again. It's a really fascinating process, and because your production at that time, we had time constraints, and we needed to get stuff done. I didn't get to do takes. It's like I had 3 or 4 scenes, and all of them were one take. I'm like, wait, but I forgot to do this, and I wanted to do that, and I couldn't do that. So I remember.
It's so funny because I can still hear your lines in there in my head.
I still remember some of them. It's fascinating because I found that as I go farther, there is a very highly developed short-term memory where I did an audition this morning. I learned the lines. I did the audition. If you ask me what the lines are now, I can probably recall them. I think I can now, kind of going back into my memory.
Yeah.
But tomorrow or the day after, they're gone, and I don't remember it. But because this whole thing was new and it was my first real experience, I still remember a bunch of lines just because it's so vivid in my memory.
Yeah, my favorite part about that shoot
Which
was
one?
you and the host.
Okay.
When Dr. Saunders kind of bought us a little more time with with his gift of gab.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Those are things that you remember that make this all worthwhile. We want to finish projects. You wanna bring things into fruition, but those experiences make it so awesome.
Yeah, it's such a special thing. I don't know if I told you that, but my parents, because I took a photo when I was on set, and I'm wearing my whites, and I have the stethoscope, I think that's what it's called,
Yes.
around my shoulders, and I show it to my parents. They start crying. They're like, "We wanted you to be a doctor." where who wanted you to be a doctor. Finally you're doing something, and everybody who looks at that picture is like, wow, it's so believable. We really buy you as a doctor. Yeah, my parents really wanted me to be one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I think the role really fits you because you were caring, little lighthearted, and empathetic to the one of the main character Marvette's role,
Yeah.
um, which was really effective.
Yeah, and it was not an easy scene, and kind of be thrown into the deep end of the pool of here's your first role, you're playing an oncologist, and you have to tell somebody they're about to die. Oh, yeah, okay, sure,
Yes, yes.
I'll go with that. Uh, but I can, since that moment when that commercial for I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Well,
Yes,
I can say that and say that sincerely.
absolutely. You're so right.
The last question I have about the church and state is, what was the first name? Did you ever write a first name for Dr. Saunders? Because I came up with my own. I wanted to know what the real one was.
What? I'm sorry. Say that again.
Did you come up with a first name for Dr. Saunders? Because the character's name was Dr. Saunders. So I kind of created my own and a little bit of a backstory that I had. But what was the real one? Did you ever come up with it?
I believe it was either Richard or Simon, one of those two.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah,
but
Richard
what did
Simon.
you? I'm interested to hear what you had.
Honestly, I don't remember. I remember I came up with it, and in prep for today, I kept on wrecking my brain of what did I choose. The first thing that came to mind was Dr. Schuffhausen, Dr. Emil Schuffhausen, which obviously was not it, because if that was my backstory, I definitely would have played it differently. Uh, but I think maybe it was Adam or Daniel or something like that, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a pretty simple name.
Yeah.
Um, but that Saunders just seemed to fit. It just kind of rolls off your tongue like
Yeah.
Dr. Saunders. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's who I want working on me.
Very cool. Well, that was a very cool thing, and I still have the DVD that you sent. My kids have seen it. My daughter still to this day she remembers, the last scene in in the movie. I'm not going to give anything out, but the last scene or my last scene in the movie is me going like, I can't do anything, and my
Yeah.
daughter still does that to me. She's like, oh, doctor, and she goes,
Oh wow! There's
well,
nothing I can do.
nothing I can do.
Yeah,
Um,
that was awesome. So
um,
great memories.
I do too, and the folks there, I didn't keep in touch with them. I did keep in touch with Daniella for a little bit, and then kind of life happened. How are they? Have you talked to anybody? Have you used them in any of the other projects?
I've connected with them on and off. The challenge is again moving out here.
Hmm.
Time kind of changes out here.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy thing out. You get out here and it's almost like time speeds up. Like
Mhm.
in Milwaukee, it's an even pace. You get here and it's like, whoa, where did the years go? Right? So I catch up every once in a while on Facebook. I've seen some of Marvette's plays.
Hmm.
She's ridiculously good. Yeah, so here and there, I still Xavier and I were working on a project, a really big project when I first came out here. That was the DP for the shoot. So um, still working. I would love to reconnect with all of them.
Yeah, it's just very, very talented crew. I remember being really impressed by watching them. And again, that first being on set and learning experience, saying, okay, yeah, I see that. I see where I need to go and what I need to aspire to be.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
when did you move out? I know again we shot Church and State in 2013, and then I thought you did Angel in 2014, and
Yes.
then you moved out after, right?
Yes. It's been about 4 years. Scary to say, but yeah, it's been about 4 years. Yeah. So it's been
What
quite a
prompted?
journey. Hmm?
Sorry for interrupting you. What prompted the move?
This this life. I wanted to. I don't want to have any regrets, right? There's so many people that are afraid to take that first step and to just go for it. Now, going for it with wisdom is a key.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have this experience. What happens when you just go all in and you dedicate yourself to making something happen?
Yeah.
So that was my reason for coming out here. We put a plan together and went for it.
That's very cool. And I love, Becky's very supportive, and she's been very supportive. So it's important to have that. So Becky, if you're listening, if you're watching, you're cool.
Oh,
Uh,
she's, I mean, as far as casting, as far as craft services,
yeah.
assisting in the production, we've even shot a film out here where she's one of the main characters. So,
Good.
yeah, last minute because someone canceled and she's like,
Uh,
I'll do it.
yeah.
So it's great having a right hand like that.
Very cool. And is this full time for you, or is there still, are you doing something that kind of supports these efforts?
Yeah, I'm still doing something to support it. So I have my day job that allows me to do these wonderful things that I get to do. So yeah, it's a combination that works for me. At some point, yes, I'd love to just completely dissect,
Yeah.
but I mean, it works, and I think a lot of what I learn in business allows me to better navigate in the film world. So right now on this project, we're probably up to 75 people that have been part of this Fighting Olympus, and
Yeah.
managing that many individuals without that business any business knowledge makes it really tough. Um,
Yeah.
so
Good for
it's
you.
it's fortunate.
And it's quite a jump up. I think church and state, maybe we had 15 or so, maybe 20. I don't remember that many people. So this is, you've certainly grown quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's interesting about church and state is the outdoor scene at the beginning. So we actually had about 20 people that were scheduled to be at that scene,
Yeah.
but it was below 15 below zero.
Yeah.
So I had to rewrite it on the fly to make it into what it is. So I think that's one of the awesome parts about being writer, director, and producer because you can rewrite it and you don't have to answer for it and
Yep.
make it work. And it did.
It did. I was lucky. I avoided all of those scenes. All I had to do was just come park, freeze my butt as I was walking from the car to the set, and then I was good to go from there. So
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know how many people have directed on a horse, but those are experiences that it's like a boot camp. It's like if you could do this, if I can direct while holding on to a horse and a buggy, and the cameraman's holding on to it too on the other side, and it looks like just this natural beauty. I think we pulled it off.
yeah, I think so too. Um, Very cool. So what's next? Once you're going to get done with Fighting Olympus, do you have another project that's kind of percolating?
Yeah, so I mean, I have so many projects that I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
I think this is a good footstep or steps to that. So even if someone else, I get a financier that takes care of all of that, I want to know the entire process from beginning to end. I want to know what it feels like to completely take ownership of a project. And then the next one, now you start bringing in those elements. Okay, you handle the finances. Let me focus on this. So, by nature, I'm a writer. So I love that aspect of it, and I love the producing and directing as well. But yeah, I've so it's just exciting. There's so many projects that I want to work on.
Very cool. And are they in the same genre, or do you have kind of different genres that you want to do?
No, I'm all over the place. I have some comedies, romantic comedy, um, other types of action, period pieces.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so if there's a genre for it, monster, horror.
Yeah.
Um, if there's a genre out there, I want to touch them all because I mean, what's more fun than what we get to do? We get to be grown-ups playing make believe, right? So that's so cool to me. It's expensive make believe, but it's make believe. We get to pretend we're people and characters and just have fun creating worlds. I love it.
Um, I I'm with you. It's just it's such a rush, and the whole creative aspect, I can't live without it. It's I tried living without it, and it's completely missing for me. And it's you don't feel whole.
Yeah,
You don't feel fulfilled. And now with this, I don't care. Honestly, I want to get paid. Obviously, I want this to be a full-fledged career, but I'm doing this for me,
yes.
and just doing it is enough. And at what level and what things, that's second, third, and fourth type of priorities.
Yeah, and that's why it's so inspirational with what you're saying and what you're doing in general because
Nice.
there's so many there's so many what ifs, right? And the reality is, just by doing, you're already so far ahead of the game. Just by doing whatever doing is, being a background actor, being a when I came out here, my first agenda was get on set. I don't care what I have to do. I want to get on set so I can learn. So whether it's helping out with lighting, whether it's doing things to help with sound, whether it's set design, anything that I can do to bring this dream to fruition. So then when I am the person that's kind of calling the shots, I know what it feels like to be responsible for these other things, and I can value someone's efforts on it, right? Like in fighting Olympus, I'm actually playing one of the characters. Now it's a small role, really small role, but it's acting is tough. Acting is tough, and my role is small. So watching what you guys do, I'm learning that too, so I can be a better writer and director.
And thank you for that, because I think the directors and writers that have had experience in front of the camera will understand it better. And I remember being on set for a commercial shoot where it's a 30-second spot, and the main actors had to deal with two directors who were saying, well, try it like this, and then try it like this, and try it like this. And we were at it for hours. And the amount of stamina that it takes to go and continue to play around until they find what they're looking for just to cut that 30-second spot is amazing. So
Yeah,
if somebody has done that on the other end and they know what it's like, I think it's a little different experience for a director.
you're right. Yeah, because it made me analyze how I'm directing. Like, it's easy to say, okay, try this. Okay, I'd really like you to try crying instead of laughing.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you do that in one take? Okay. It's not fair. So I think for any director, um, having that opportunity to at least experience it, even if it's in rehearsal.
Mhm.
Okay, what does it look like? How difficult is it? I have so much respect for acting now. The small movements with the eyes, the emotion that the emotion that you can infer, that's not overacting, that's not cheesy or corny, just natural. I love it. So inspired by it.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I think it's not usually possible to do on a set because you're shooting not linearly. You're shooting very much out of sequence.
Yes.
But for somebody when you're an actor and you're trying to develop the character, the more sequential things, the easier for us to continue kind of going with it because you have to if it's out of sequence, you have to cry in one scene, and then 5 minutes later, you are, 3 months ago, and you're happy and nothing happened. It's possible. This is what we do, but making our lives a little easier would be preferable if possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. And it's tough. Like right now, in the film we're shooting, um, characters as we go through this, they get closer personally. They build chemistry personally. So when you're shooting something where they weren't supposed to have any chemistry, it's like, okay, how do you make them not have that connectivity that they've grown to have when you're shooting it out of sequence?
Yep.
So many little things like that matter.
Yeah, in some of the productions, again, the big productions that I've heard of, some people really, the directors are making the characters. Let's say that the characters don't meet until towards the end of the movie. They
Mm.
literally kind of separate them. So to have that organic, kind of chemistry emerge. I remember Serendipity would be one of those examples. I love Serendipity with Kate Beckinsale and John Cusack. They really didn't spend almost any time together. And when they finally come together, as an audience, we've spent the whole movie wanting for them to meet, and then finally they do. So they kept them separated, from what I understand, and just to preserve that and to have that opportunity, it's
Yeah,
lots of
yeah,
tricks. And it could
that's
be,
yeah. You
yeah,
got to use as many tricks as you can. So that's a good one.
yeah. So, what do you look for in an actor? So, when you're casting and putting your casting hat on, you and Becky, what are you looking for to? Because as a writer, you know what you envision the character to be, and then you have people coming into audition. If you see something different from what you wrote, but different that sparks your interest, does that assist you, or no, I have this is what I'm looking for, and what you did is cool, but it's not what I needed or envisioned. Where do you kind of find yourself there?
Well, I'm flexible, so I look for that fire. I look for that passion in the opportunity. Right? They don't know the project, and a lot of actors, as you know, go to different casting calls, different readings, and so you're not connected to the project. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, that's what
Mhm.
I look for first. So if you have that, that's already going to give you a heads up. It, and then I start, if it's someone I really enjoy the experience with, and there's a connectivity there,
Mhm.
I'll change a scene for that person, and I've done it in this project. I've looked at how I had this person laid out. Maybe they were an older person that was supposed to play this role, but a younger person gave me that fire and that energy that I was looking for. I'll
Mhm.
rewrite it. I will make the change for someone who's worth it. So for this casting for me, of course, you want to start out with the parameters that gets you in the ballpark.
Yep.
But basically once you're in front of me, as long as if you have that fire, that's going to take you most of the way. And for the right person, I will adjust a script for that. And that's worked for me so far. Excellent.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and a good thing for us actors to hear that, just have the fire, be passionate, and you never know what that will do on the other side. The other question for you I had is that, being a writer, you wrote the words, you gave the sides for performance. If somebody doesn't have if somebody's not word perfect on it, is that something that bothers you, or are you kind of so in the moment that it doesn't really enter the equation?
Well, I've kind of grown through all of these different projects. So at first, words were children, right? It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is my word, right? It was so important for me. No, you have to say it, and you have to say it this way. But that's not letting it happen, and it's not natural. And so I like to let actors feel it out and present it with how they see it, because something that makes sense to me may not make sense to anybody else in the world. And so when they sometimes I give you an example. In this project, we had one actor um, that said, we were rehearsing right before we did the scene, and he said my line, and it was supposed to be kind of a funny line, and then the next time he said something else that was completely not what I wrote. He took another line that he thought was funny, and I was mad and laughing at the same time. I'm like, no, no, you did. But that was funny. Do that
Yeah.
again. Now keep going. Now keep changing it. And that enlightened me on just let them do what they do, right? Your words aren't magic. What brings it to fruition is that connection. My words with your acting, that's what makes the magic. And
That's
I
very.
love doing it that way.
Thank you for being flexible. A lot of people are not that flexible. I remember being on a project where the director was so particular, and it had to be, word perfect, and down to the syllable of how he wanted you to pronounce things and where he wanted to put the specific emphasis on it. And it's a good project. I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel that I had the freedom. I didn't feel that I had the freedom to really kind of jump into a character and make my own choices because everything was spelled out. So it is what it is. But actors, we want freedom.
Yeah, well, we as writers, and especially when you're writer director, it's hard to loosen the reins, right?
Yeah.
You want this picture that you dreamed of to play out exactly like you saw it.
Yep.
And so there's a maturity that happens over the process where you start growing and saying, my maturity is not necessarily having to have people say exactly what I wrote. My maturity is trusting that they're going to do what they do and it's going to be all right. And so that's not something that happens overnight, and some people never get to that point. But I'm grateful that that I'm seeing that, and how effective that can be in what we do.
Yeah. And again, that's also why you have multiple takes. So
Yeah.
I think the sets that I enjoyed the most, even with the directors who were very particular, is we do the take, they get what they want, and they said, okay, next one, just play. And
Freestyle.
that just it infuses energy because the shoots are long. We're there for for many hours, kind of doing things over and over again. So it's nice to have that breath of fresh air. It energizes everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And what's cool about it too is even if it doesn't make the cut, it makes you laugh. It makes you enjoy the experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen that. It's happened in this project. I've seen those moments redefine the character, right? So now the character starts evolving into what they should have been, but you couldn't see because you were blinded by your own words.
Yeah. I'm the one of the my Chicago community actresses that I was speaking with, Ruth Kaufman. She is a writer, and she said something. She kind of defined the term for me that I was always this way, but she defined the term of writing as pantster, which is I write by the seat of my pants. I don't plan everything out. I kind of start, and then the story kind of just starts evolving, and the story takes over. And when you're directing, in a way, if you can do that, and as an actor, if you can do that and allow things to organically develop as much as you can within that framework, I think that just creates opportunities for something that was not accounted for at the beginning. And I love those types of collaborative and free processes.
Yeah, yeah, and you're so right about that. So for me, you think of church and state, a lot of this,
Yeah.
like that whole thing played out in a dream and, in a series of dreams. So even the music for church and state, I'm sleeping and then I'm like, I hear it. And so I got to run and go play it real quick and record it so I don't forget. And all of these things allow you just to find what that end result should look like.
Yeah.
But you got to be flexible.
I think everything is there. I still love, Michelangelo's expression of I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. So it's not creating the angel, it's letting him out. It's that I have an idea and let's see, let's explore, and things will find their proper balance.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
more
yeah.
my approach. If I ever direct, and we'll see when I get there.
Well, you quote, I love it, quoting Michelangelo. Oh, okay. I like it. I like it. But yeah, we're just chipping away, right? Whatever the sculpture is already there. We're just
Mhm.
chipping away. All we're doing is getting to what's there in the first place. But most people can't see past the stone, you know. Even with this, like some people, I don't get where you're going. Now we're close to the end. Oh, okay. Now I get it. So yeah, great words of wisdom.
Yeah, I take no credit for them. It's all Michelangelo. What what
Copyright,
yeah,
copyright below.
if people want, if you're watching this and you want an exercise of how to actually get to that state, not have the Michelangelo ability, but get to that state of creativity and seeing, as Julian pointed out, the what's in the stone, what's in the marble is, take out a piece of paper, take out a pen or a pencil, and just do squiggly lines, and just create whatever squiggly lines, whatever comes to mind, and then stop, and then look at those and see what shapes come to mind, what you can create out of it. And that's that idea that you drew something, you didn't have a plan, you didn't have a preconceived notion, and then you kind of turn it around and, oh my God, I see something. People do that looking at the clouds, but this is a way to kind of develop that creativity. And I did that naturally as a kid before I knew anything about Michelangelo or any of this. It was just a fun thing for me to do. Also, partially because I didn't want to, study in school and I wanted to do it. But that's kind of how that can work. So, try it out. It certainly is a great creative process.
Right. Enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Okay, last thing I wanted to ask you, as an independent filmmaker, as somebody who's very passionate about it, for others like yourself, but who are just starting out, what would be one piece of advice that you would offer to them?
Um, I would say it's gonna sound cheesy, but don't quit. I think what you find a lot of times are people comfortable with celebrating almost. I almost did this. I almost got there. I almost find things, finish, start new things, finish, start a new thing, finish. The more you finish, the more you build up the stamina to finish, and you look forward to projects completion. There's so many people who are resting on half dones, and I think that that's a frustrating cycle, because it's basically, as you talked about the stone, and we talked about the sculpture. If you see it halfway, you're always going to wonder what it could be, but you've already exposed it too much to not get it, to keep it out of your brain. So my suggestion would be that don't quit. Second, I would say you just have a plan, right? A lot of people move out here with a hope and a dream, and they forget the plan, and that can fail you tremendously. So have a game plan. There is nothing wrong with you working on your dream and your passion. There's nothing wrong with you sustaining yourself while you're moving towards that ultimate success you're looking for. So those are my words of advice, because I've seen a lot of people not do those things, and they seem miserable. And I don't want to be that. I want to finish and enjoy.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's not cheesy at all. I think it's a wonderful advice, and thank you so much for coming on. I love you. I really am grateful beyond belief for the opportunity that you gave me. I'm even happier for the person that you continue to be, and continuing to check up, continuing to stay in touch. You and Becky both. It's a pleasure, and I really hope that people will look at this, get inspired, start on their own projects, and finish them.
Well, the pleasure's mine. I love you back. Of course, I'm going to stay in touch, and I'm so proud of what you're doing, not just with allowing individuals like me and others that are working towards this, but just that inspiration and wisdom that you're offering to uplift all of us. So means a lot to me. I'm fortunate to have you in my life, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We have lots of people who are passionate about the acting world. Whether you're a producer, you're a director, casting director, actor, everybody is in this together. We're all pulling in the same direction. So keep pulling with us, keep sharing, keep commenting. We're here for you, and we love you for it. Have a good night.